The method of directing aircraft by hand signals is as old as aviation itself. However, as time has gone by, signals have been added and refined until today we have a system of marshaling signals which has been standardized and is used throughout the world. The International Civil Aviation Organization has been host to many international meetings, during which working groups have examined and re-examined marshaling signals in the process of establishing these international standards. The signals which will be shown are given in Annex 2 to the Convention on International Civil Aviation. It is expected that the film will need to be seen several times, in addition to studying the signals from Annex 2 or from textbooks, in order to thoroughly learn all the signals, since some 20 marshaling signals will be shown. It is important that you consider, as you watch this film, that the signals have been designed so that they can be easily interpreted by the pilot, regardless of whether the signalman uses his hands, bats, or illuminated wands or torchlights by night. To begin with, we will examine those signals pertaining to the marshaling of a hovering helicopter, starting with the signal, "This bay." The bats used by the signalman in this demonstration are handled in the same fashion as torchlights, and so, whether by day or by night, the arm movements will remain the same for each signal. In some of the following examples, the signaling will continue longer than would actually be necessary to provide enough time to observe the signals carefully. With arms extended horizontally sideways, the signalman is giving the helicopter the signal to hover. When the signalman wants the helicopter to move upwards, he achieves this by swinging the arms from the horizontal to the vertical repeatedly. If the arms are not raised high enough, this signal may be difficult to interpret due to the angle from which the helicopter pilot views the signalman. To have the helicopter move downward, the arms are swung downwards from the horizontal to the signalman's sides. For both upward and downward signals, the speed of movement indicates the rate of ascent or descent. To signal a horizontal movement, the appropriate arm is extended horizontally sideways in the direction of movement required, while the other arm is swung in front of the body in the same direction. With arms crossed and extended downwards in front of the body, the signalman gives the signal to land. The signal indicating "this bay" as being the one to which the aircraft should proceed is given once again. The signal, arms held steady in a vertical position above the head, is the same as that used for the helicopter. The signalman positions himself so that the taxiing aircraft should come to rest with the port wingtip directly in front of him. He must not move about, otherwise it is impossible for the pilot to judge his taxi path. A left turn is demonstrated by pointing the right arm in the direction of the desired turn and downward, with the left arm moving upward and backward. The signal to move straight ahead is given by holding arms upward and apart, with hands or bats being moved upward and backward from shoulder height. This signal means go straight ahead and not necessarily towards the signalman. For a right turn, The left arm is pointed in the direction of the desired turn and downward, while the right arm is moved upward and backward. The signalman indicates for the aircraft to slow down. Then, by repeatedly crossing arms above the head, he gives the signal to stop. And finally, cut motors. Either hand can be placed across the throat with arm at shoulder level. By watching this signalman as he directs an aircraft into a bay, you can better appreciate why signals must be executed in a precise manner and done in a specific way. This is necessary in order to avoid having one set of signals for daylight and a different set for night. The pilot gives the signal, "Remove chocks." To indicate that the chocks have been removed, the signalman will face the pilot, and with bats or thumbs outward, will swing arms in an outward direction. The pilot raises the appropriate number of fingers to indicate the number of the engine to be started. The port engine of a twin-engine aircraft being number 1, and the starboard engine number 2. However, when an aircraft has more than 2 engines, they are numbered starting with the outboard port engine as number 1, the inboard port engine number 2, the inboard starboard engine number 3, and the outboard starboard engine number 4. Or, had this been a 3-engine aircraft, the center engine would be number 2. As an acknowledgement of the pilot's signal to start number 2, the signalman points to number 2 engine while making circular motions with his right hand to indicate that it is safe for the pilot to start engine number 2. All clear to move out of the bay is signaled by having the right arm raised at the elbow and the left arm straight down. Allowance must be made for the momentum of heavy aircraft when signaling slow down and stop. Aircraft with long, swept-back wings pose a danger of collision. To guard against such collision, the signalman is required to take up his position well forward of the port wingtip. Needless to say, he must stay far enough forward to be conveniently seen by the pilot. When attempting to guide a large aircraft into a bay or hangar, the signalman must be accompanied by a wingman, as shown symbolically here, who will observe the clearance of the starboard wing. This is particularly important since wingtips of some aircraft are out of view from the flight deck. Certain aircraft have the capability of moving backward under their own power, and to direct an aircraft in such a maneuver, the following signals were devised, such as this signal, to move back. The signalman's arms are at first by his side, and then swept forward and upward repeatedly, to shoulder height. To direct the aircraft so that it backs up with its tail turning to starboard, the signal is given as we see here, the appropriate arm being pointed in the direction the aircraft is to turn when backing, while the opposite arm is brought from an overhead vertical position to a horizontal forward position repeatedly. Various additional signals must be learned, such as engage brakes, and release brakes. There are situations when the signalman needs to request the pilot to slow down an engine. In this instance, a slowdown of the starboard engine is being indicated. The signal, "Proceed under further guidance by signalman," is used to attract the attention of the pilot to indicate that he will be the one giving guidance to the aircraft. When a signalman wants an aircraft to proceed to the next signalman, he will indicate the direction in this fashion. Practice all the signals and take care to do them with precision to avoid any misunderstanding, whether you are signaling by day or by night.